Hey everyone. So, if I look the same as my makeup video, that's because I'm filming this the same day I did my makeup video. Since I'm kind of already have my makeup done and my lighting set up and everything, I wanted to film this video as well. This is gonna come out probably a few days or whatever later than my makeup video, but I just wanted to film this as well. So, I put out a video kind of talking about my dad and, you know, the type of person he was, you know, how prominent of a person he was in my life, all that. And it got a lot of good feedback and everything, and I so appreciate everyone who watched that video and gave me good feedback. I really appreciate it. So with that being said, I've also wanted to make a video talking about my mom, but with my mom, it's a bit harder, like, it can be a bit harder of a subject, I guess, because of, like, things that have, like, really gone on, that went on with her and things like that. So that's why I kind of haven't, I've been kind of holding off on making this video, but, I figured, you know what, now's a good time, so let's do this. So, basically, when I was born to, you know, my mom and dad. They were together when I was born. They weren't married yet. They got married, I was probably about like 6 months old when they got married. I looked a lot older than that in the pictures because I was a big baby. But, so I was probably about 6 months old when they got married. And they lived together, but weren't like, they were together, basically until I was, about 17, but, kind of like on and off. So when my mom and dad got together, they actually, like, so basically what happened was my mom was in jail or prison, either one of the two. And she was in there with another lady. And basically, that was my dad's ex-wife. And they ended up, like, breaking it off and things like that. And basically, my mom and dad met through his ex, basically, is kind of like what it comes down to. So, you know, when she got out of jail, prison, whatever it was, you know, they got together, all that, and they had me. I'm the only child between both of my parents. My dad has 2 older kids, and my mom has 3 older kids. So I have 5 half siblings, but I don't have any full siblings. They just came together and had me. So with that being said, things were kind of a bit rough, just on that aspect, because I didn't have any full, like, brothers and sisters that fully understood what I was going through, because, you know, they had different mom and, you know, different dad and whatever. So, yeah, on that aspect, it was a little hard because I didn't have, like, full siblings that knew exactly, like, what I was going through. And it was also hard because with my siblings all being older, you know, it was rough. We had like good times and bad times and whatever. But, anyways, so my mom, when she went to jail, she was really, like, bad in drugs. She got out and, you know, was doing better and everything. She also has, had, very, very, very severe bipolar disorder. That's what she was diagnosed with, and that's what, you know, she was treated for my whole life, basically. So that, you know, that's rough because, like, even when you're being treated for it, it's still not, especially when it's, like, so severe like my mom was, you're not always 100%, you know. And her medicine made it to where she didn't really want to do much. She was just, she laid in bed all day, watched TV, most of the time. She wasn't like big into cleaning. She cooked and stuff sometimes, but really her medicine made it to where she didn't want to do a lot. And so that was kind of rough because I didn't have like a mom who like wanted to like always go to the park with me and this and that. Like sometimes, yeah, but it was kind of like very rare and few between when things like that did happen, like when she was having good days or whatever. So so that was rough in itself, the fact that she was very, very severely bipolar. And she also, like I said, had that drug problem that ended up, resurfacing. So, basically she would, decide that, oh, I want to start using again. And so she would, start doing drugs again, and that would cause her to not take her medication because she's feeling good from the drugs or whatever. So that would cause her to not want to take her medication. And then it would just become, this thing to where she wasn't taking her medication. She's doing drugs. I can remember like at least 3 times in my life, like growing up when I was younger, where it was just me and my dad because she had gotten so just far gone mentally from not taking medication and doing drugs that she just, she couldn't be in the house anymore. And, eventually she would have to go and seek help, seek treatment because my dad was big, because my dad back in the day, he did drugs, and he did not want me to be around that because my older brother and sister were, and he didn't want me to be around that. And so, when it came down to her like being very, very, very on drugs and not doing good, he didn't want her around. So there was like 3 times, I would say, in my life that I remember specifically, like my dad, like picking me up from school, which he never did. I always like rode the bus, or like someone else would bring me because my dad worked when I got off school. So he would like pick me up from school, and after like the 3rd time, I I realized like what was going on or whatever. But he would pick me up and basically tell me, your mom's sick, she's not doing well, she's probably gonna be gone for a while. So then it would just be me and him, which was rough, only for the simple fact that he worked. He worked a lot, and so it was hard on him to kind of get me ready for school and off to school and get to work and make sure everything's good. And it was really hard on him, and I really give him a lot of credit for doing that. Obviously he was my dad, but it was really rough on him during those times. So yeah, she would be gone for a while, and then come back, and she was better. She would be, and those are the times that she would be like more of a mom, I guess. Like would be more willing to do things with me and not just like lay around all day and stuff like that. But then eventually she would get back into the cycle of, just kind of laying around, watching TV, all that. And so it just kind of like throughout my whole life, that was just kind of like my cycle with my mom, and we had a very rough relationship because of her bipolar disorder and everything. She, like I said, she didn't really like to clean. So it would get to points where like it's like I had to step in and clean, even though, you know, she was gonna do it or whatever. I would step in and do something. But like, say I like went to go do the dishes, and like I like, you know, got a sink of soapy water and put them in there or whatever, and say I just like went to her and I was like, oh, you know, like I'm soaking the dishes because it's like so stuck on. She would like flip out. Like that would cause, for example, would cause her to be like, oh my God, like you're making up reasons not to do the dishes. And like she would like flip out. And then that caused, you know, me to get upset. And it was just like this kind of like vicious cycle between us. And so that's kind of like, that was kind of like our dynamic, I guess, growing up. And then with the relationship with my siblings, we kind of had like an on again, off again relationship, kind of with all my siblings, except for my youngest, the sibling that's the next like youngest to me. We've had a pretty good relationship. But my other siblings has all kind of been like an on again, off again relationship. And there were times when, you know, I'm just gonna put it out there, I was like bullied by my siblings and stuff, and my mom never really stood up for me. She just kind of let it happen. And then if I reacted badly to the bullying or whatever, I was the one who would get in trouble for it, even though I was the one who was being bullied. But that's neither here nor there. But so that was another issue, was like that I wasn't getting like, you know, I was kind of like getting bullied and wasn't getting like help for it. They weren't, you know, getting like repercussions. They were older and like whatever. So yeah, and then when it came to stuff like that, like I didn't want to tell my dad because like he was, like I said, always busy working. Like that's the last thing he needed, was like to know that like I was like being bullied or whatever while he was like at work. So yeah, so like growing up, that was really like the dynamic, on again, off again relationship, her being in and out of my life, just things like that. And then when I hit my teenage years, I want to say about like 14, she got to a point where she wanted to be my friend more than my mom. And well, more than my mom, because it's hard with my mom because she was never really one to like teach me things. I had to learn a lot either on my own or through my dad. But yeah, she was never really like that, like motherly to me. But so when I hit like 14, she kind of wanted to be more of my mom or my friend than my mom. And at the time, like I thought that was cool, you know, because I'm like, yeah, like, you know, my mom, like she's, you know, it's cool, whatever. But that came with like her, you know, like, you know, I would like drink with them and stuff sometimes, and like it's that turned into me like starting to like drink and stuff really young. And thankfully it never really became like a problem, except for like when I did drink, I would drink. Like that's the only issue, is like when I would, because I can't drink anymore and I don't want to. But when I would drink, I would drink. Like I couldn't just get like buzzed or like, no, it was bad. Like that was the only issue. But it wasn't like a consistent like I was an alcoholic type thing or anything. It was just that when it did happen, it was bad. And then when I was about 15, we were watching my niece and nephew for my sister through like a program where you like get paid to babysit. And I just I was dealing with really, really bad anxiety at the time. And I would kind of just like flip out and start yelling and screaming, like, and just and also like she was getting like paid to watch them, but like she wasn't like I would watch them most of the time. I would be the one like making sure everything was okay. But like when I wasn't there, they would go in my room, mess with my stuff, and it really upset me because like she was supposed to be watching them, but she wasn't. And when I got upset that, you know, they were messing up my stuff, it's like, oh, well, it's just stuff, you know, but to me, it wasn't just stuff. Like, it was like stickers I was collecting and stuff like this. Like I was 15, you know? So, you know, I would get really, really mad and just like flip out and just like start like screaming. So one day, so my mom always smoked marijuana. That was something that she always did. So, you know, one day she was like, hey, she was like, you know, you can't keep yelling and screaming like this with the kids and blah, blah, blah. She's like, just hit this and see how it is. So, so then I, you know, started smoking, and then that's when I became like a daily smoker, basically. Well, basically daily. And we were kind of like hiding it from my dad because, you know, she didn't want my dad to find out and get mad or whatever. But when he did find out, his only response was that like he just didn't want like my grades to drop, and they actually got better after I started smoking, which like some people were like, yeah, right. But like if my dad was still around, he would vouch that after I started smoking and he told me that like, you know, as long as your grades don't like start dropping, and they just like started rising, and I was getting straight A's after that. Like after I started smoking marijuana, I started getting like straight A's. So yeah, it was my mom who got me started on marijuana in the first place. Daily smoking, and I have been ever since. So and then so that was about 15. And then about 15 or 16, we started like volunteering at an animal shelter. And so I would say from like 14 till about 16, those like 2 years were really, in my eyes, like great years with my mom. You know, we had this like friendship. You know, we were smoking, we were, you know, hanging out more than, you know, normal. She wasn't just laying down, you know, watching TV. And then, yeah, and we started, you know, volunteering at the animal shelter and things like that. So those 2 years were really, to me, were really special, I guess you could say. But then when I was 17, I think I just turned 17, I think, something like that. She had another relapse, and she had met this guy, and he was, you know, really big into drugs, the drugs that she did. And so basically, like, when my dad was gone and stuff, she would, you know, end up like meeting this guy. They would get together and do drugs and stuff. And then, you know, she stopped taking her medication because, you know, that's the way the cycle went. So at this point, from what I can remember, this was like the 4th time this had happened throughout my life. But this is from what I can remember. So yeah, that's just like memories. So it happened again to where she started doing drugs. She started seeing this guy. And she was like seeing this guy this time. And yeah. So it came down to basically where my dad, you know, told her, like, you know, you can't do this, like, you gotta go. So I heard her talking on the phone to the guy, talking about, like, you know, I can't wait to see you on Saturday and this and that, blah, blah. And they were like, you know, they were talking, you know, like sexual or whatever. And I heard her, you know, doing this, and I couldn't keep this from my dad. My dad, you know, he was amazing, and I couldn't. So I'm the one who told my dad, like, what was going on and everything. And then, yeah, he found out, like, yeah, that she was on drugs and all this. So he told her, like, you gotta go, like, you gotta figure something out or whatever. So she left, and she was gone for a couple days. I don't know, I think she was, like, staying with the guy or whatever. And then, she came back, and, she, keep in mind, this was all, like, around my, like, when I got my driver's permit, and, like, my, high school graduation and stuff, because I graduated when I was 17. So he, like, kicked her out, or, well, told her she had to leave. She was gone for, like, a couple days, and then she came back one night, and it was, like, pouring rain. She was wet, so my dad let her in, and that night was terrible. Just terrible. Yelling and screaming, threatening, just, that was a really, really rough night. And, you know, she had, told my dad that she was going to, unalive him in his sleep. Just a lot of, she was saying really messed up stuff to me. It was a rough night. So then, the next morning, like early the next morning, it stopped raining, and she was gone again. My dad told her, like, you have to leave. It's not raining or whatever. You have to leave. I didn't really sleep that night because I was so afraid that something was going to happen. So she left, like, very early, very, very early the next, morning when it stopped raining. And, so then, that was actually the day we went to go get my driver's permit. And so, we went, and I passed and everything. I passed the first time. And when we came home from getting my driver's permit, like, I was driving home because I just got my permit, we drove up, and she was sitting on the porch. And, you know, I told my dad, I said, you know, I can't do this. Like, this is, you know, too much. Like, you know, like I said, I was close to graduating, and I needed to be able to focus on school, and with what she was doing, it was just too much. And I told him, I said, I can't do this. And we found out that she had broke the back window and gotten into the house because she didn't have a key or anything. The doors were locked. She had broken the back window and got into the house. But when we pulled up, she was, like, on the porch smoking. And, you know, my dad told her, like, you know, I already told you I don't want you here. I don't want you around Rachel, this and that. And then he ended up calling the cops to see what they could do about, like, getting her out of there. They came, but they were still, my parents were still married, and they were technically still both on the lease. So they were like, you know, there's nothing we can do as far as making her leave because you guys are still married. She's on the lease. This is her house. Like, we can't make her leave unless there's something, like, unless something violent happens or, you know, this or that, threats or whatever, we can't make her leave. So once they said that, I told them, I said, she threatened to unalive my dad in his sleep last night. And they said, what? And I said, yes, she threatened to unalive my dad in his sleep last night. And I looked at my dad, and he kind of looked at me, and he had this look in his eyes, and he said, yeah, you know, that happened last night. So because she had done that, and she had threatened him, and it was such a, like, a bad threat, they did end up taking her, and they gave us an option to get restraining orders out on her, which we did because she was so unpredictable at the time, just so much on drugs, so not on medication. It's just she was not in a good spot at all, and we didn't know what she was capable of, basically. So we got restraining orders out against her, and I think, I want to say it was like a 3-year restraining order. And so, you know, the three of us, you know, me and my dad, we, you know, we continued living together, and we actually ended up having a better life after she was, you know, she was gone. Things were a lot better. She wasn't spending all of his money on this and that. And, you know, things really, really got better for my dad and I once she was gone. And then she, you know, I don't really know a lot about, like, I know she was like living with my sister and this and that, and she like lived a couple different places, but the three of us didn't talk. My dad didn't talk to my mom, and vice versa. You know, the whole time we had the restraining order, obviously. After the restraining order was up, I want to say maybe like a year or so later, you know, I started talking to her again because, you know, I'm like, well, she's my mom, you know, and, you know, I just want to have, you know, see if we can kind of come to terms with things. So, you know, we started talking again and whatever. But then, you know, it's just, you know, it came, you know, she, you know, she got clean again, was on her medication, everything, you know, was living, like I said, with my sister, different places. But, you know, it came down again to where she, you know, started, you know, she met a guy who was doing drugs. She started doing drugs again. And, you know, the cycle happened again. But this time it wasn't, she wasn't able to kick her habit. This time it just kind of became too much and it was overpowering. And two, especially here, after you've been in and out of like rehab and like mental health places so many times, a lot of times they honestly like won't let you back, because this was like, that I know of, like her 5th time doing this. And they're not gonna waste their resources and everything on someone who they feel like isn't really taking them for granted, and or who someone who isn't like taking them seriously and is taking them for granted. So so yeah, when it came to the last time, she wasn't able to kick that habit. You know, her and her boyfriend were staying in an apartment for a while. But I guess he started to, I guess, get physical with her, which I didn't know about. But I guess he started to get physical with her because it was her, him, and a roommate. I guess he started getting physical with her, like he had hit her or whatever. So the roommate told my mom, like, you know, he's got to go. I'm not going to have him here and do that. So my mom left with him. She wouldn't just let him go. She left with him, and they were like homeless. And my mom also had, I forgot to mention, but my mom also had like severe health issues. She was very diabetic. She was insulin dependent. She had an enlarged liver and spleen, which made her look like 9 months pregnant all the time, even though like the rest of her body was like smaller, but her belly was like, looked like she was pregnant when she wasn't. It was just because of her enlarged liver and spleen was kind of just like distended her stomach. High blood pressure, just all like she had quite a few different like major illness, like problems. So yeah, basically, you know, they were homeless. She wasn't in good health at all, doing drugs. Basically, we don't know what exactly happened to her to lead to her going to the hospital. We, based on what we found out about her, her boyfriend like hitting her and stuff when they were living in the apartment, we think he beat her up pretty badly, and she ended up in the hospital on like a ventilator. You know, she wasn't breathing on her own or anything, and I think she was on there for I'm say like maybe a day or two. I'm honestly like, and this happened 5 months after my dad passed away. So let me just throw that out there. This all happened like 5 months after my dad passed away. So I want to say she was on the ventilator for like maybe a couple days, maybe a day or two. I don't know. And then I got a call from my sister because I was living where I'm living now, which is like a few towns over from where they're at. So I got a call from my sister that was like, hey, like, if you want to see mom before she goes, like, you need to come and see her because, you know, things aren't looking good. And basically, like, we just gotta, you know, we have to let her go. There's nothing they could do for her at that point. So I went. It was actually, we were actually at my husband's cousin's like wedding reception or whatever, but I had to leave. I just felt like I needed to be there, so I had to leave, and I went, and I was able to see her for a couple minutes before she passed. Unfortunately, it was COVID. This was June of 2020. So unfortunately, it was like prime COVID time, and we could only go in. Luckily, we were able to see her, but we could only go in one at a time. So there was like a nurse there, and she really helped to like comfort me because I didn't have like my sister or anything in the room with me. So yeah, I saw her for you know, a few minutes. That's really like all they because it was me, my sister, my aunt, and stuff, and so they kind of wanted to get us like in and out and, you know, not spend too much time or whatever. So I saw her, and yeah, and it's the one thing I do remember is, you know, when I was like, even though she like wasn't there, like when I was telling her, you know, like, I love you and I miss you and everything, like, I swear, like, she started, like, I could see her like start to cry. So I knew that she knew that I was there for her. Sorry, this is like the hardest part right at the end. So yeah, we tried looking into like maybe trying to press charges against her boyfriend, have them look into what was happening, but they were staying in a tent with I think like 3 other people, and everybody kind of had the same story, that she was walking and fell on the sidewalk, like, you know, just walking down the sidewalk and fell, and that's what caused all of her bruising and bleeding and being so swollen. Sorry if that's like too much, but we know that's not what happened. But they, you know, unfortunately, where I'm from, where my mom lived and everything, they're not the biggest on investigating crimes, especially when it involves homeless people who do drugs. So, you know, we were never able to get a conclusion on that. We know what happened, but, you know, there's nothing that can really be done. So, yeah. So my dad passed away January 2020, and my mom passed away June 2020. And yeah. So like I said, that's kind of I just kind of wanted to because I feel like people I feel like sometimes it's good to kind of give people like a backstory of like who you are, where you came from, especially when you didn't necessarily have the best life growing up, because a lot of people like to hide that and they like to kind of repress it. But if you talk about it and you're open, it really does help, you know. And, you know, I feel like when I make these videos and stuff, it really helps to get things off my chest. come to terms with things better. So I really felt like making this video, you know, would be good. And like I said, I already made one about my dad, and I can link that in the description below. So yeah, this was basically, you know, the video about my mom. We didn't have, you know, we didn't have the best relationship on and off, but it was what it was. And unfortunately, she is, no longer here with us. But yeah. So, I hope you guys, maybe got something out of this video. And maybe it can help someone who, you know, went through something similar, or maybe is going through something similar, or, you know, something. So yeah, if you, you know, if you liked this video or got something out of it or whatever, please give it a thumbs up, and comment down below if you have any questions or anything like that, or if you just want to, you know, comment. Feel free to share this video with anybody if you think it might help someone. If you're just coming across this video and this is your first time, feel free to subscribe if you think my channel might be something that you would enjoy. Yeah, and I am sending everyone all the positive wishes and all the best wishes and positive vibes. I got it backwards this time. I'm sending everyone all the best wishes and positive vibes, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.